Joining us now is comedian and commentator Alex Stein. Alex, it is great to see you. I want to start off with a bit of a laugh. Rosie O'Donnell has fled the country after Donald Trump's return to the Oval Office, and she says she's now living in Ireland and is in the process of applying for Irish citizenship.
Moved here on January 15th, and it's been pretty wonderful, I have to say. Never someone who thought I would move to another country. That's what I decided would be the best for myself and my 12-year-old child. I miss my other kids. I miss my friends. I miss many things about life there at home. And I'm trying to find a home here in this beautiful country. And when, it is safe for all citizens to have equal rights there in America, that's when we will consider coming back.
I actually want to give Rosie O'Donnell some credit here because she actually left America. A lot of celebrities claim that they would flee the country if Donald Trump got in again, but she actually did it. Now, we have heard from the president about this. This is what he had to say.
Why in the world would you let Rosie O'Donnell move to Ireland? I think she's going to lower your happipiness level.
It's true. Thank you. I like that question.
Mr. Prime Minister, are you expecting?
Do you know who she is?
Yeah.
I'm joking.
You better off not knowing.
President Trump, it's okay.
Donald Trump, he does not miss. Alex, what do you make of it all?
To be honest, I don't like Rosie's politics, but she looks like she's lost some weight. I mean, she doesn't look great. I don't want to say that she looks technically great, but she does look a little better. I know that she was making all those viral videos when she was last in America, and she had some sores, and she wasn't looking great. So, I just wish Rosie O'Donnell, a very famous woman that does have a history with Donald Trump, I wish that these people would just, check their ego for 1 second. And if she would just try to be friends with Donald Trump, I guarantee you, and I don't want to speak for President Trump, I guarantee you Trump could mend the fences with Rosie O'Donnell. But she wants to take it as a personal attack that he became the president of the United States, because Rosie O'Donnell is a constant victim. Even though she's a multimillionaire, very successful woman, she always has to play a victim. Yeah,
there's a few of those, aren't there? I want to speak to you about the tariffs. There's been plenty of controversy around Trump's tariffs. Here in Australia, we're at this stage going to be impacted on them with the steel and aluminium. And of course, they're not really seen as a good thing, but it's interesting to watch this play out. Ontario's Premier backed down in the trade war. He said that he was temporarily suspending his planned 25% surcharge on electricity exported to the US after Howard Lutnick agreed to renew trade talks. And of course, his decision came after the president threatened to double tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminium. What's your reaction to all this? How are people in America feeling about the trade war?
A lot of people in America are kind of confused because we're getting multiple different stories from multiple different media outlets. People are saying that our economy is going to crash. But every time that Trump puts one of these tariffs or threatens to do one of these tariffs, all of these other countries immediately just stop doing whatever they're doing to be adversarial to our country. So Donald Trump is winning by just threatening these tariffs. So I love that he's doing it. But I also love the fact that we've been giving away money left and right to other countries. You see what Elon Musk is doing with Doge. We've wasted so much money on not even helping other countries, basically just wasting it. So yes, this is a much better thing that's happening. And honestly, like I said, I don't want Australia to be victims. I don't want you guys to go to the grocery store and be affected by the tariffs that, Donald Trump is putting in place. But I do feel like we cannot have a country that is getting taken advantage of constantly when it comes to our geopolitical relations. So I think what we're doing is something we need to do a long time ago and put America first and try to make a system where we can benefit and other countries can benefit. So we are mutually benefiting from our trade with one another. It's not that hard of a concept. There should be two winners instead of one winner and one loser when it comes to our international trades.
Well, it's an issue that's being brought up in the White House. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt shut down an Associated Press reporter over the issue. Let's take a look.
When President Trump last addressed the BRT when he was on the campaign trail, his big push was on tax cuts. He's going there today as he's proposing tax hikes in the form of tariffs.
Not
and
true.
I'm curious
He's not
for
doing
why
that.
he's prioritizing that over the tax cuts.
He's actually not implementing tax hikes. Tariffs are a tax hike on foreign countries that, again, have been ripping us off. Tariffs are a tax cut for the American people, and the president is a staunch advocate of tax cuts.
I'm sorry, have you ever paid a tariff? Because I have.
That's
They
it.
don't get charged on foreign companies, they get charged on the importers.
And ultimately, when we have fair and balanced trade, which the American people have not seen in decades, as I said at the beginning, revenues will stay here, wages will go up, and our country will be made wealthy again. And I think it's insulting that you're trying to test my knowledge of economics and the decisions that this president has made. I'm now regret giving a question to the Associated Press.
She is so strong. I've had several exchanges with politicians in press conferences, and I understand they can get very heated, but Caroline Levitt is proving to be such a boss in this situation, and just there's such a massive difference between Caroline and the previous one, Karine Jean-Pierre.
Oh my gosh, Karine Jean-Pierre. You know, honestly, we did give her a lot of hate. She did an okay job considering that the president that she was representing was a literal potato. So now we know the facts that Joe Biden was basically senile. So I'll give her a little bit of credit, but Caroline Levitt is just night and day difference. It's so much better. She goes up there and she commands the room. She's not just using a binder and scripted answers for everything. She's actually speaking extemporaneously because she's smart. And that's the difference, is that we have people that are not afraid to speak out against these journalists like the Associated Press that are trying to attack them about their knowledge on tariffs. And listen, they're not in there to have an economics lesson. They're in there to find out what decisions Donald Trump is making to help our country.
Yeah.
But they sit there and they want to try to, instead of being journalists, they want to be activists. And that's the big problem when it comes to the media in America.
Yeah, Caroline Levitt handled it so brilliantly. She's an amazing woman, 27-year-old mother. I also want to speak to you about what's going on in America, or out of space, really. 2 astronauts who have been stuck in space for 8 months will be making their way back down to Earth. Thank you, Elon Musk. A SpaceX Falcon rocket will lift off, headed for the International Space Station, where the pair have been stationed since June. And this all occurred when the Boeing Starliner capsule suffered leaks during their trip, which was supposed to be just 10 days. And of course, we have heard from Elon Musk claiming that really it was the Biden administration that refused to let this rescue go ahead due to political reasons, Alex.
I know, isn't that so ridiculous? You have some of the top scientists, astronauts that are stuck in space. And because Donald Trump and Elon Musk are aligned ideologically, they're going to let 2 astronauts literally starve in space. I believe that these astronauts, when they get back, that they're going to have to go into quarantine for months because their body is so affected from being in space for so long. So this is what it's all about. You know, this is a clear indication that our politicians aren't about serving the people. They're not about advancing scientific knowledge or advancing interplanetary travel. They don't care about any of that. They would literally let these astronauts die if they thought that would help them politically. So that's where we're at, is that there's people that are stuck somewhere, and now we have somebody that wants to save their lives, and they're doing it, you know, a day late, a dollar short, in my opinion. Obviously, I hope they come back safely, but this is ridiculous that we're even talking about this. They went on a 10-day mission, and now they've been up there for months. That just shows you how incompetent our government is. And, I hate to, criticize the space program, but it's pretty bad that we're having this much trouble getting them back. You would think that we'd figured it out by now.
Unbelievable. I know, absolutely right. It's hard to even fathom that someone can be stuck up there for that amount of time, but thankfully they are returning. I also want to talk to you about the controversial issue of biological men in women's sports. It was interesting hearing Gavin Newsom, California's governor, come out for the first time saying that it's actually unfair. I want to get your reaction as to why he's saying that now. He had plenty of time to say it over the past several years. But the Trump administration has paused federal funding to Maine universities for failing to ban biological men in women's sports. Is certainly in defiance of the president's executive orders. It's great to see that Trump is taking even more action, but why does he even have to do this?
Well, because we are so insane that we have Supreme Court justices like Ketanji Brown Jackson that can't even describe or articulate what a woman is. But forget about the fairness, because obviously that if you're a biological male and you transition, you're going to have a physical advantage against a biological female. But forget about the fairness. This is a safety issue. We've had a trans volleyball player that was literally hurting people with the way that they were spiking the ball. So this is a safety issue. We need to protect women in sports. They shouldn't have to compete against a man. And I'm so happy that we have a president in Donald Trump that is actually doing something to stop this and helping women. And that's what I noticed too. Gabriella, I was recently at a women's march for International Women's Day. And you know who was leading that march? It was transgenders. It was a bunch of transgender women. I couldn't believe that's where women, need to get their guidance from at a women's march is from a few transgenders that have gender dysphoria. So, if you're an adult, you want to be transgender, that's great, but you shouldn't get the opportunity in high school to compete against biological females. It just doesn't make sense.
No. And finally, we are getting some common sense from Gavin Newsom, but now he's getting backlash from it from the LGBTQI plus community. So we'll see how other Democrats, whether they're going to come on board with his position as well, or if they're going to keep trying to be as woke as possible. But Alex, there's been a big case that you are involved in. You filed a federal civil rights lawsuit in 2022 against Dallas County Commissioner John Price, Dallas County Judge Clay Jenkins, and a trio of county marshals after you were removed, essentially kicked out from a meeting from the Dallas County Commissioner's Court. We have that vision of you getting thrown out. Let's take a look.
Faces, professors, ex-boyfriends.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to admonish members of this court.
Yeah, I'm just asking. I would like to get some clarification. On here it says, but Judge, what I'm saying, this is talking about a panty raid.
You are not.
I'm not admonishing.
You're not allowed to attack members of this court.
I'm not attacking them.
Yes, you are.
I'm asking a simple question.
Now, what's your question?
I'm asking what is
your question?
What was the panty raid about? My question is, he was arrested for a panty raid.
You're attacking
I'm not allowed
members of
to
this court.
ask about his criminal record.
You're finished.
I'm not
You're
allowed to
finished.
ask about his criminal
Marshal,
record.
move out.
I'm not allowed to ask about his criminal record.
You're finished. You're finished. You're finished. Okay.
Wow, so you were essentially kicked out for seeking clarification about allegations about Jenkins, who was running for re-election at the time. So you've been arguing that this really violates your free speech as well as the court's own rules. Has a verdict been handed down?
Gabriella, I'm sick to say this. We just got back from federal court today, and because they are elected officials, they have a thing that is called qualified immunity. So now, even though they did admit that they kicked me out and that they didn't even follow the rules, that an elected official is granted a little bit of leeway when they do make a mistake, and that we had to prove that they intentionally limited my free speech because of my viewpoint, which is obvious because he's a liberal candidate and I'm conservative. So they ruled not in my favor, but we have already filed our appeal. So now we're going to take it up to the 5th Court Circuit. So the journey still goes on. It's been a 3-year journey, and all they have to do is let me speak for 3 minutes. I've sued a lot of other jurisdictions. I've sued New York in one. I've sued Plano, Texas in one. And, the county judge, they do not want to let me win. So sadly, on a technicality, they did win this one, but we're appealing that. So stay tuned. My fight for free speech is not just for me. It's for other Americans that should have the ability to go and publicly criticize officials and bring up any sort of, skeletons in their closet and be able to say that in a meeting. And that's what they limited me from doing. They didn't want me to bring up the rumors, not rumors, the arrest for trespassing in a woman's dorm. It's a long story, very complicated, but at the end of the day, they didn't like my viewpoint. They limited my ability to speak, and we're still fighting it. So the fight goes on.
Well done for fighting it, and it's already been a long road and you're going to keep fighting. And is that why it's not just about this case? You're really fighting for free speech here.
Well, 100%, because like I said, I'm not trying to virtue signal. I'm not doing this for you. I don't care if you're conservative. I don't care if you're liberal. We should be able to go and criticize our elected officials, and they shouldn't have this thing called qualified immunity where they can just kick you out and say, oopsie poopsie, I did it on a mistake. So we need to hold our elected officials accountable, and we need to make our elected officials realize that they are voted on and they are elected to work for us, and not the other way around. They're not meant to go to these meetings and work against us and limit our ability to speak freely. So sadly, the First Amendment did take a loss today, but the fight goes on. We're going to take it up to a higher court, and we are definitely eligible for the appeal. So just stay tuned. The journey, sadly, I thought I was going to get some closure today, but it looks like the fight must go on.
Well, appreciate you giving us the update. Keep fighting, Alex Stein. It's so good to speak with you. Thanks for joining us on Power Hour.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys always having me on.